those of you guys joining in, we have Pete DePrez, DePrez or DePrez.
How about we let him pronounce it? There it is.
Yeah. I'm jacking it up. My bad.
I've answered to all of those. It's DePrez is how I.
He's like, just don't call me late for dinner.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Just don't call me with the wrong results to the STD results.
Yeah.
And here we are. What is this? We in here. Episode 21, though. What's up?
Episode 21. Yeah, episode 21. And what we have here is a person that we met yesterday through Doc Pate.
Shout out. What up, Doc Pate?
What's going on? So we've, along with some of the things that we talked about on this podcast, is mental health. And we found another person with the same mission in trying to do that within police departments or academies or what have you. So I'm going to kind of turn it over to him and let him introduce himself. Nobody can say it better than himself. But go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself and what you're trying to do, and and then we'll just kind of get into it as we get into it.
Yeah, thank you. I was a first responder both in search and rescue. I got into it through search and rescue in Telluride, Colorado, and spent experience. And they have a department that, for better, luckily, I think, focuses primarily on this search and rescue element. So there's not a ton of crime down there. So
is it like up in the mountains or something, like a smaller community?
Telluride's in southwest Colorado, and it's known more for the recreation opportunities than it is for any major crime syndicates. The guys are great, incredible agency, but where I went from my vehicle being filled with rescue equipment in Telluride to transferring to Garfield County, where my truck was full of tactical equipment for the SWAT team. So I kind of got to see both sides of that fence, and both were wildly rewarding, but very different as well. So all in all, it was around 11 years. I was with Telluride for 7 or 8 and Garfield for 3 or 4. Garfield's near Glenwood Springs and not too far from Aspen, if that gives you some idea of where they are. So
okay,
San Miguel County was somewhere, I think, the county population is somewhere between maybe 5,000 and 6,000 people, and Garfield County, which is to 100,000. So big population difference, big difference in duties and tasks.
I bet you the demographics are probably different as well. Just more rural community, and just the culture is a little bit different as opposed to like, I don't know, like suburban or just different. Anywho, but
yeah, they were. I mean, it's Colorado, so we have a pretty good mix of. It was just more of each and every one,
right?
If that makes sense.
So is that where you met Doc Pate or Kate?
I met Catherine, Katie. Through a friend of mine that's in 10th Group Special Forces.
Okay.
And he knew about the project that I'm doing and mentioned that she was helping a lot of guys that he knew, and I reached out to her, and
nice.
Yeah, she's been nothing but helpful.
Yeah, she's awesome. So what's the is there like a name that you're calling this effort, to raise awareness?
Sure. So it all stems from a conversation with that buddy I mentioned. when I got the diagnosis, I reached out to him and just kind of said, "What is it?" I assume you guys probably have the same mechanical method of thinking, which is I need to understand how this operates, because if I know how it operates, I can either use it to my benefit or I can develop a defensive
Right. Because
approach to
once
it.
you can identify it, and more specifically, what we're talking about is PTSD. Once you can identify what you're dealing with, then you can know how to attack it. I mean, that's kind of the
100%.
because and I know what you're saying because at, when I was diagnosed, I was like I had all these things going on, and I didn't know what it was. I just knew that something was not right.
Yeah.
And even when they told me, I was like, "That's bullshit." I think that's what I said. And then it took about a year, like for actually like, okay. Um, Obviously, like I didn't know what the hell I was doing to try to fix myself. So that's what kind of led me to go, and go get seen and start therapy and what have you. So yeah, I got tired of not sleeping, got tired of being an asshole. I because I would be an asshole and I didn't know why I was being an asshole.
Did
And
you
my
even know
wife,
you were being an asshole?
no, no, I didn't.
I
I
used to
just, I
relish it.
got in.
I used to couldn't wait to be an asshole. Like that was me. I couldn't
Yeah,
wait to be an
just
asshole.
maybe that was just your way to kind of release a little bit, like a little, let off a little steam.
That mechanism being an asshole. Because I
But
Yeah.
didn't
did
all
you
these
realize
feelings.
that you were being an asshole at the time, or did you think that's just who I have to be to fulfill this role?
Yeah, I thought that that was like the standard everybody expected me to be, the funny asshole. Like, what I'm saying? I felt like I had to hold up to this standard, but it was like me masking these feelings and like, damn, why am I so emotional right now? Damn, why am I excited? But damn,
Right.
not anymore. Not right now. But you know
Yeah.
what? I can get somebody else's attention, take it off of me, not think about what's going on inside of me, and fuck with somebody else's head by being an asshole. That was perfect for me until they was like, you know what? No, man, that's not right. And then they sat me down, strapped me down, and then forcibly was like, nah, man, like you got bipolar, tendencies, and then those manic episodes to be wrote down, man. That's the excitement that you're feeling, like that's
You know what's
you
crazy about
over.
that is like I learned through various programs that bipolar and PTSD a lot of times they mirror each other, the symptoms. So sometimes people get diagnosed with bipolar or PTSD, and it's actually the other, because the mood swings, the manic phases, because you're trying to stay busy and stay really too much downtime. So they mimic each other quite a bit. I'm not saying they're the same, but the symptoms, and then if someone's trying to diagnose you and doesn't have the experience, they could misdiagnose somebody.
Yeah,
And that's what I've talked to therapists about, and because I was curious, because that's what they told me. They initially they're like you're PTSD and bipolar. But my mom was bipolar, and I saw like some huge like I lived with that for a long time. Well, we all did. I'm not saying like feel sorry. We just didn't know what it was.
yeah,
So I was like, I'm pretty sure like, and I know there's different levels, but I didn't feel like I fit into that column because I don't have manic phase, like those manic swings or what have you. I would be busy and I would be an asshole and I would have mood swings. I was always irritable. We'd go somewhere like to a restaurant. My wife and I would get in arguments because of a seat, like where I wanted to sit down, and it's like I thought she should know already, which is a stupid expectation because I wasn't really telling her what was going on. So we would get in an argument over stupid shit like that, or it would just lead like ruin our night. It was just constantly always something like trivial that I ended up being an asshole about. And when I went to work, I had to shift my whole focus. I was a like at the time I was a senior NCO, and I had to be this, hey, how's it going? Like project and like, how you doing okay today? And joke and stuff
yeah.
like that. But as soon as I went home, man,
Turn
now
it off. Turn it
no,
on. That
don't get me
switch.
wrong, it did come out at times at work, and I had to go to the bathroom, because there was a few times I had to go to the fucking the stall and just like cool the fuck down. And like sometimes I would just fucking weep in the stall, and then collect myself, then go back out and be like, hey, what's going on? Like nothing happened. So those are kind of like like towards like where I was like, I need some fucking help. You know what I mean? I need to do something because this is whatever's going on with me is not right. It's not my norm. But anywho, I'm not saying that's what you kind of experience, but I mean they're fairly similar on some levels.
Yeah, I think the overwhelming parallel is being in a place now where it's easier to recognize things like there's rank and order in a military or paramilitary environment that makes everything very black and white. Even our ROEs, as varied as they might be, make everything very black and white. There's absolutes and there's not. When you get into the family environment and we have those same expectations because we're so pre-programmed to expect that, and that's what makes sense in our
It has to.
little mind.
You
Yeah,
don't. Yeah, you don't have in quick decision like that type like military and
it's a safety net.
you're right. It is because you
Yeah,
don't have time to like
absolutely.
discuss nuance or nothing. It's like
Doesn't
stop
matter.
or
It's all
go.
washed away, right?
Right.
And
It's
it's beautiful in some ways, and it's not so beautiful in others. But when you're, your survival instincts are based on that structure, and then you go home to an environment that doesn't include that structure, it I mean it scrambles.
It's a hell of a balance to try to create. It's a hell of a
Yeah,
balance to
yeah.
create. It's
yeah,
a
because
hell of
then yeah,
The
you just
biggest
end up like trying to control things. That's at least that's what I tried to do when I got home. Like if something was a miss or like just something like it would just set me off. And yeah, but yeah, I mean, but that is needed for those type of environments. But I see what you mean. But when it comes to this, like what we're like dealing with, there's not like a whole lot of room for that in that environment because of the
mission.
perceptions that it could bring with it, or like a lot of the one thing that the one word that I hear a lot is I heard a lot was weak. That's how it would paint somebody that was in that like that, oh, they broke down or what have you, but
yeah,
it,
or fear.
or fear, right?
I mean, I can only speak for myself. I never felt an ounce of fear um, in anything that I did that role, but towards the end, when things were really too blatantly obvious for me to dismiss anymore, I remember being at a SWAT competition and going to rappel off a 4 or 5 story fire tower, which is about the most routine thing I could do in that role. And as I went to wait the line, my legs started shaking, and I remember thinking at the time, like, I don't feel anything. I'm not scared. I trust the equipment. I'm just waiting a line like I have 1,000 times before,
Hmm.
but I'm having this physiological response that I can't explain. And there was separation between my mind and body in a way that I didn't understand. It was like both in their own right were operating without my direction. I wrote about that recently, about looking back now and thinking about all the things that should have been a sign that something wasn't right. And the first one that I can remember is probably um, maybe 6 years into my career, maybe 5 years into my career in law enforcement, separate from search and rescue. I got done dealing with a dead guy, which was fairly routine and never bothered me in any way. walk outside after helping the coroner collect their body and start talking to another deputy, and it's nighttime and our overheads are going, and in the flashing lights, all I could see when I'm talking to this guy was what his face would look like when he was dead. And at the time I could laugh it off and think, oh, this must be a result of dealing with dead people all the time.
Yeah, because that's what you do. Like you just like find that dark humor, and
Yeah,
Totally.
it exists with like first responders and military as well. So
some of the funniest shit I've ever heard in my life was standing around a dead guy with 5 or 6 other people. I mean, the humor that comes out is priceless. But then it started happening when I'm carrying on regular conversation. It was happening when I'm talking to my ex-wife and stepson, and it have been a sign that something was going wonky.
When you were talking
in my head,
your ex-wife, you would see her face like as if she was dead.
It started happening all the time in almost every conversation that was having. And it wasn't it wasn't something that I was resisting or fighting. It would just pop up. And as I look back now, I realized I wasn't even reacting to it. I was just seeing it, absorbing it, and moving on. And it became part of my daily routine. But at that point, I already wasn't sleeping for more than 4 hours at a time. I was wildly hypervigilant all the time. And this is a big difference that was actually pointed out to me by somebody in the military who said, when I deploy, I go to the other side of the world. I'm away from my family. I'm just in country. I have this role to do. There's very few distractions. And I can't imagine doing that and then coming home at night knowing that the guys I was fighting are now however many miles from my house. So a hard part with first responder, I'm not weighing the two.
Right.
But I was afraid about going out to eat with my wife and stepson at the time because I was worried about who might be cooking the food. Had I arrested them a couple of days before, or who's our waiter going to be? Who are we going to see? Who are we going to run into?
That would be a hell of a way to live, man. Like,
it's definitely
like you said you're always vigilant. Like right. Like who actually can you trust? You really don't know. Like
no.
And the threat's always like it, and it's a legitimate threat. Because I can understand the difference in it. Like, well, I'm sure we all can when the way you explained it, going overseas, fighting, and then coming home. But to actually with the public and then go home, and just the very real near threat that is very likely. That's legitimate, man. Like I would feel probably the same way as most first responders and police officers feel. So
I don't know how we solve that problem, because we need those guys and women living in the environments in which they patrol. I mean, that makes the community better if we're looking at the
feel safe, because they recognize that, okay, well, I went to high school with this police officer. Okay, so it's cool. But at the same time, it could be a rival high school. Like, man, I always hated him. Oh man, so it's like, it's like I highly respect it. Like my friends that grew up around here that are police officers, man, like to the utmost. But at the same time, even in high school, like or even middle school, like I know people that don't like them, or from that. That's how petty people can be. Not let alone just doing your job in a neighborhood where you live at, where you might have to do the necessary deed to protect people, and they see that people are seeing it. I mean, he did that to my cousin, or he did that to my brother, or to my mom. So triple salute for all that.
Thank you.
Yeah, definitely.
it's just a difference that I think is you end up isolating because you don't want to be put in those situations, which is one of the repercussions of PTSD, or one of the symptoms of avoidance.
I avoided the shit out of a lot of stuff.
Oh yeah, you end up avoiding everything, right? So there was a lot of stuff that my then family did without me, because they could still live normal lives, and whether I felt I was making them more susceptible to danger or not. So my point in bringing all that up is, we don't realize at the time that all this stuff is building what's really constructing the blocks that it's based on, right? I think, at least in my case, kind of the perfect storm built. We kind of talked about some of this yesterday, Simon. I started losing a lot of faith in the criminal justice system, seeing stuff like somebody embezzling money from a corporation and receiving 12 to 15 years for something that, in my opinion, is pretty rehabilitatable. And somebody who videotapes themselves sleeping with their however many month old grandchild and gets 4 to 6 years. That's not a crime that you're going to commit and go to jail and get better as a result.
Right.
That's not curable. So that started making me really disgruntled with the system as a whole, seeing people being charged for felony drug possession that had usable amounts. And so now you're taking a drug addict, charging them with a felony that prevents them from getting a job and getting better. And I just, it was hard for me to justify to myself why I was suffering through the shift work that crushes you. We would have scheduling where at one point I did a year of night shift, had 2 days off, and then had 6 months of day shift scheduled. So you're completely flipping
your whole life.
Yeah.
Everything.
Yep.
And that's a year of not sleeping with my wife at the time. A year of not, I think we would all try to flip our schedules to get back on a routine with our family on our time off, but your time off is pretty limited. And when you do that, you just fuck yourself going back to your normal routine. So, you end up just being like ships passing in the night,
Job was life. Life was your job. That's
100%. Yeah.
And that's one thing I've learned is sleep deprivation will really fuck your world up too. I mean, you throw in like everything, like, all the like traumas or what have you experienced and whatever else you're dealing with, like family life. You don't get any sleep, that's gonna multiply everything.
Yes, amplified.
Yeah.
So it took a while, because I like most of us, we all have trouble sleeping. But when I first started learning about them, I just started slowly implementing them, like taking the TV out of my room. Like I have it might be hippie as shit, but I got like a salt lamp that I use instead of like like when I go to bed, instead of using the ceiling fan, I have like a salt lamp to just kind of keep it low. I take warm baths at night sometimes, just to kind of put me in that. And so I do all these little things. Yeah, that too. And then and
I keep the lotion next to the bed too.
Yeah, that helps. Then you wake up tired. Yeah.
But so I just started implementing all those little things to try to give me every type of like minute of sleep that I can. I've been able to extend it a little bit, but when stress goes up, that's when usually it's affected. I'm up like 3 in the morning or what have you, and I just stay up for a bit. Or if I hear a noise, I just jump up and I'm already looking outside. But it's definitely a lot
Yeah,
more.
those noise triggers, I don't think are ever gonna go away.
Right. Yeah, I don't think so either. But yeah, so I mean, yeah, sleep is very important is my point to that, and
Yeah.
I try to do what I can to get the most sleep. Like I watch what I eat now as far as like caffeine and what have you. I still have coffee in the morning, but like I just started becoming more aware of like how important diet is, how important like information diet is. We were talking about that last night about minimizing your intake of like the news is one example. It's like everything right now, and I don't know if it's just me or if it's just like veterans or I don't know what it is, or maybe I just have this like protector complex or what have you. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but I feel like when I see something and I know it's wrong, like I feel like I have to do something. I have to say something.
Yeah.
And I had to stop watching it because I was just like fucking getting angry and stuff. I'm like, what the fuck, you know? And I was
Yeah.
like, I was kind of like, is anybody else seeing this, you know?
Yeah.
And but I had to like cut that back some, and it's just really try to keep things like only control what I can, and that's hard at times as well. But
That's hard, but that's even harder trying to, try to instill that into other people. Because that's what I'm doing now. Like, I hear about the news pretty much through other people. Like, I don't
right,
watch TV shows unless other people tell me about them. I might watch them, but like, only thing I'm consuming now is like literally what is impacting me. Like, I'm watching landscaping videos, or I might be watching our video to critique it, or I might be watching some type of how-to or better stuff. Like, that's all I'm soaking in right now. Or that's what I'm reading. If I'm on social media, it's because I'm pubbing your stuff or I'm pubbing my stuff or somebody else's stuff. Like that's what I'm
right.
consuming. I'm just trying to soak in all that information as opposed to all the other stuff that could be soaked in. That's like I don't know. That's what I'm zoomed in on right now.
Yeah,
Like it's
and like I still peep my head into the news because I don't want to be like completely caught with my pants down. You know what I mean? So I'll watch like five.
spandex
I'd say
and
like
getting
within the first 30 maybe minute, you can tell where the narrative's gonna go. And
Yeah.
so I just watch it for a little bit and like and then I like and then I watch like so I watch like CNN, then I'll watch Fox News, and then I just kind of see what they're saying about the same thing, and it's just really to keep that balance. And then I watch a lot of other investigative journalists when depending on what subject I'm trying to research or what have you. But for the most part, a lot of the information that I receive is through like podcasts or watching like TED Talks or I'm just really I kind of view the like YouTube or the internet now as a tool. It's like a poor man's version of the Matrix. In the Matrix they upload all the information. He's
yeah.
like, I know kung fu, whatever. But I mean, granted, I don't think you'll be able to learn too much of kung fu on the internet. You got to fight some people. But my point is that like I really try to like just research things that I'm interested in, whether it be like space weather or anything like that. And it's just really trying to broaden my mind and like just kind of feed it something like useful. And then I use that information to, you know, impact my family because for a while, did you guys ever see that commercial a while back where he's like, I wrote a letter to this like people making pants and because they were using, child slaves or whatever. And at the end of the commercial, it was like saving the world is hard or whatever. But what
Absolutely.
I did learn is that um, instead of like so first thing is first, like one, you kind of learn it's in the military, any type of leadership position, like lead by example, and then through that, like leading by example, you can impact the around you and just try to share that information with your circle. And then like, those circles will grow and grow and grow. So that's kind of where I started to go with it as opposed to because I noticed that when I started going down the rabbit hole earlier this year with COVID and then the protests, the riots, and all that stuff, I was trying to understand it, but then I realized that I was just if I were to pick any one of those issues, which they're all serious issues, and depending on what side of the fence you're on, I can argue a lot of points on both sides. But if you understand like that those are just symptoms of a bigger problem. Really basic the bigger problem is like human nature and like the state that we're in and the disconnect. Like even though we have the internet, we're more disconnected now than ever before because we don't have that human contact. We don't see face to face. We don't. And then like younger generations, I feel, are losing that because of social media. They talk to each other and they don't really have. I notice more and more that most kids they don't have social skills.
None.
They don't know.
And
People don't understand how to, and this is.
I would imagine you saw this a lot, dealing with younger.
Yeah, I generally ended a call very quickly the second anybody mentioned social media. So our people just don't understand how to communicate anymore. I don't know how often I get emails or text messages that when I get done with it, I read it again and I'm still left with this feeling of, what the fuck are you trying to communicate to me right now?
Right, because it could be taken so many ways, like because there's no tone.
It's literally like they're talking a different form of English than I understand or comprehend. But something throughout this COVID thing that's been really interesting to me, and I've had several conversations about, is not understanding people's reactions to it. And I'm not denying the emergent status of the virus. It's obviously a bad thing. It's killing a lot of people. We need to be aware of it. But there's a lot more dangerous shit that nobody's talking about, nobody's addressing. And I kind of realized that, this is the first time that the masses, at least since 9/11, and this is on a bigger scale than 9/11 was. 9/11 was a little more shocking and in your face.
Right.
But this is the first time that the populace has had to be this intimate with death on a big scale. Right. And when you juxtapose that with people who have had to be in an environment where you're dealing with death on a very regular basis, and not just dealing with it, but almost fantasizing about. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but when I hated the downtime in my job, because if there was downtime, I'd start thinking about shit like, all right, if I get to pick how I'm gonna die, how would I pick it? You almost start fantasizing the idea of your death because you have to be so comfortable with it, with the idea of it, to be able to go do your job every day.
Right. You have to accept the idea that you could die and will die. And
100%.
Right. But I think I know yeah, and I do agree that this is the first time that, because for the most part, I mean, I feel that overall our society has been well pampered.
100%.
And this is like one of the first times, and I'm not denying, I've said this many times before, that I'm not denying that there is a virus, but I agree with you. There are a lot more other things that could bring perspective to what's going on right now, as far as like deaths. Like if you just look at, not that I'm knocking alcohol, but that is one of the leading, causes for a lot of deaths, drinking and driving.
DUI kills more people than guns do every year, but there's no focus on it. You have no idea the amount of times that I have had solid DUI cases, which was something that a lot of the calls that I went on, let me back up. I feel like the two most important qualities that a cop should have to embody are integrity and discretion. You don't have to arrest everybody. I would do everything I could not to arrest people because that was going to take me off the road for 3-4 hours. So you had to do something pretty righteous for me to take you to jail. Um, that said, with a DUI, I was not going to use discretion. If you were over a certain limit, and I'm not necessarily saying, oh, wait, but if you were not able to exhibit to me and show me that you were capable of operating a vehicle, I was going to take you off the road.
Right. As you should.
Absolutely. Those same people, if they had enough money to hire a good attorney, would then get off from a very egregious DUI because of some silly stipulation. It's a pay to play type thing where if you have the money to get off of the charges, you get off. DUI is something that it doesn't generally kill the person who's guilty of drinking and driving. It kills the passengers, or it kills the people that he hits or she hits. So it's you have victimless crimes and you have victim crimes. This is a very blatant victim crime generally. But the system doesn't allow that to be prosecuted as it necessarily should.
Right. And I'll be the first to say, like, when I was young and dumb, I drank and drove a lot, but there was one incident that I witnessed. So a DUI, like taking a family member and like the whole process or what have you, of seeing, like, like the family get torn. I'm just watching it from I was just enough removed from it where I wasn't like affected, but I was able to kind of just, witness each person's grief and like their, like, it was strange, sad, and like kind of like what the fuck moment for myself. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like, so
100%. Dude, I've had 2 DUIs that I've been arrested for. I've been arrested 5, all prior to being a cop, 5 times, all alcohol related. So the booze thing for me was an issue long before the badge and gun ever came into play.
Yeah. Not that I know that, but yeah, I'm disagreeing with you.
It was an outlet. It was a very, or it is a very accessible outlet for most. So
absolutely,
right.
And probably the most.
So speaking of outlets, you spoke of briefly jiu-jitsu. That's Would you call that one of your outlets? So tell us about a couple more of your outlets you got. Like, Crash over there, got his name from riding mountain bikes. Chugg, it's just a long nickname, but I cycle as well. Jiu-jitsu, man. What else? Tell us, man. People want to know.
Man, the beautiful thing about living in Colorado is we're just active all the time. So a lot of that serves as an outlet for me, be it hiking or trail running or fishing, hunting.
What kind of fish y'all got up there? I'm a fisherman myself.
It's trout, river trout, whitefish.
Is that fly fishing? You get in the water, you fly fishing?
Yeah.
I've never done that.
People do bait fishing too, but it's a little easier with the fly fishing as far as technique goes. Not easier. It's definitely easier just to fling out some, but it's easier with the mechanics of the river as opposed to a flat water pond or lake.
I would like to learn how to fly fish.
It looks very fun. It looks very fun.
It does. It just.
I could care less if I catch a fish or not. It's just nice standing in the middle of a river and doing something with the rhythm of the. And as dorky as that sounds,
that
awesome.
sounds amazing. Because that's like, I love like outdoors and all that. Because I fish a lot. I go hiking. That sounds great, and I love water. I don't think I will fall in the water, but I can swim. It's all good.
It's and unless it's spring and we're getting that big melt off, the rivers generally aren't, at least not around here. They're not imposing by any means. So it's easy enough to stand in knee or waist deep water and do everything you need to do.
Nice.
You guys were talking about rock climbing in Kate's episode, I think.
Not me, him.
No,
That's not your
I
thing?
was saying that I wanted to like start rock climbing, and there was a on our local trails here. I mean, we don't. Granted, this is San Antonio. We don't have mountains or nothing, but we do have some like cliffs, that you can
Yeah.
practice on or what have you. But I was riding my bike once, or maybe taking Lotus for a walk or what have you, and I came across a few guys that were rocks or whatever we have here, and I got to talking with them, and they kind of have like I don't know, like a little community where I mean every sport has their community, but I got to talking with them, and I was gonna start. I was like, hey, I'm gonna meet up with these guys here soon, and then I had a couple races that I did, and the last one I broke my hand, so I'm still recovering from that. I'm trying to get full mobility back.
Did you have to have surgery?
Fuck right here. Yeah, I had a. They put a. I broke it the fifth metacarpal, and I broke it right at the knuckle, and it popped up a little bit, and then so they put a rod through my knuckle, or like they called it a nail, but it's like a little auger bit they put in there. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
But I mean, like it's like we talked about last night. It makes you focus. I mean, granted, I mean that happened, but it was kind of a freak accident. I feel, and there was a lot of dumb shit I did up to it that it could have been avoided. But it's
That's
definitely
how the
something
best lessons are learned, man.
right. Exactly. I definitely feel like I'm a lot wiser because of it, and I think that's one thing I love about the sport. It's just like I don't want to say it's just like jujitsu, but you get humbled um, fairly often, and especially mountain biking, like bust your ass or break something, and you kind of have to start from square one on some level. But
Yeah, it's nice doing stuff with legitimate consequences, isn't it?
right, and I think that's why veterans often seek some of the, or not just veterans, but like first responders or people with any type of protection details, I guess, is to kind of chase that adrenaline on some level, but also the challenge of it, as well as I don't know. It's just like just being outside. I think we talked about this yesterday. We often see things that takes us outside, and so we're not behind a desk or what have you. So
Yeah, I think there's use the climbing example. There's an absolute focus, um, and you get a similar focus in jiu-jitsu. You get a similar focus in front sight focus with firing weapons. You certainly get it with tactical approaches like CQB, where that hyper focus and very centralized focus. This is my responsibility. As long as I fulfill my responsibility, we win. You have that in those similar dynamics in those activities. With climbing, we talk about a 3x3 window that you're focused on, and anything outside of that just fades into the peripheral kind of blur. If you're doing it right, that's where you're living, is just in this 3x3 space, and nothing exists out of that.
have you
And
ever? Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say there's a beauty in kind of living in that very isolated, focused space.
Yeah, we touched on that last episode as well. It's like we was talking to somebody at night bike rides, mountain bikes. I've never heard of it. And he's like he even rides faster because he's less worried about even less. He's like has even more of a specific focus on it. I was like, man.
Yeah, because
I
the
don't need-
lights only light up a certain area, so that's the only area. Like that's all you can see. So you have to just. It kind of. He was talking about how it makes it easier to focus on the trail because you already got a cone of view, and in
So
the
that
day you have to watch
3x3
everything, your peripherals.
So it's similar like the 3x3 that you're talking about when you're rock climbing. You just focused on that and that's it. Everything else is background noise that you ain't paying attention to. That's dope.
Right. It's like that with long range shooting or close quarters shoot. I mean, there's a beauty in that absolute focus where all the other noise is gone, and you just get to live in this very focused space. I think we all seek that, and in particularly for people who are suffering from this affliction, which you guys touched on this in the podcast I watched, and I wanted to bring it up. Are you guys familiar with Andy Stumpf? He's got the Cleared Hot podcast.
I didn't know he had a podcast, but I know who he is.
Yeah. He was a team guy that got into the squirrel suits, the fixed wing flying suits, and I think still holds the record for the longest single flight.
I would like to try that too.
You knock yourself out on that one.
I might permanently.
Yeah, no shit.
I'll record you.
Yeah.
I got it on video.
Yeah. We'll get you diving out of the plane.
Yeah.
He and his podcast is incredible. He's done a great job with that. But he brought up the PTSD acronym and said, you know, I'm paraphrasing his comments, but he said his biggest issue with the acronym was that it ends with disorder, because anybody that's gone and seen the shit that we've seen and done the shit that we've done, who doesn't have something wrong with them and doesn't suffer some repercussions from living that type of life, they're the ones with the disorder. People who have to deal with some shit afterwards, that's not a disorder. That's just the natural process that's going on.
You got to process it. You can't process it right there at the moment because you got to focus like we're talking about. But eventually your brain it ain't went away. You can't unsee or unhear things. So you're going to eventually get back to it one way or another.
Yeah. And you know, I think a lot of the stuff that builds up and gets so heavy is because you don't realize that it's happening at the time. Like I was talking about earlier about wishing I could have recognized some of those signs and symptoms, but just the short-term memory loss that starts taking place and the frustration that creates. I didn't realize any of that was happening. I didn't realize it was happening until I was coming out of the storm, you know?
Right.
And then I'm still dealing with it. And you just, I mean, I don't know where it's going to go as more time goes on, but I've legitimately just kind of learned to live with it. I take as many notes as I need to take, and
phones, notepads, yes,
yeah,
like, that helps. It does help.
100%.
Yeah,
it gives some of that control back, and that's the most frustrating part about this whole thing is I lived my life in a world that revolved around control, right? I arrive on scene, I got to take control of that scene immediately. So everything else in my life had to fit into that box. And that's as ridiculous as everything else when I look back at it in retrospect. But, you know, when you start losing basic functions, like I remember my vision starting to go, when the tinnitus started to set in and become more and more frequent, the short-term stuff, the irritability, the not being able to sleep, like when all that shit starts to add up, and we would laugh about it, you know, me amongst the other guys, we almost like pissing contests of how much sleep did you get tonight? Oh, you got 2 hours? Well, I got 3 hours, so blow me. But you don't realize at the time that shit's really starting to stack up.
Nor is it normal.
It's not normal. Yeah, exactly. But what's normal when you're living that lifestyle? Like
there is no normal, really.
Right. There's no normal in any of it. But that's where the stigma aspect we have to start addressing. If we're ever going to get ahead of this issue, and start allowing agencies and military branches to start retaining a lot of guys that they're losing from this affliction, it's going to take getting ahead of it, getting guys to recognize this is not a if you are going to get it, it's when it's going to come out. And it could happen several years after you get out of whatever line you're in, but it's going to come out.
Right.
The first dead guy I was ever on, and dead guys are coming up, but dead guys were never what bothered me. But again, another sign that I can remember, one of my closest buddies who'd been on the search and rescue team I was on for decades called me the next day and said, "Hey, I just wanted to check in on you, make sure you're doing okay." And I said, "Yeah, I didn't really think much of it after we got done." And he said, "Well, you never know how people are going to process it. Sometimes you don't think anything of it for the longest time, and then you roll over 5 years later and look at your wife and she's got the face of the dead guy." And I remember at the time thinking, so I got that to look forward to. And I legitimately did 9 years down the road, but that's what you have coming. I mean, it's not a matter of are you going to be burdened by some level of this affliction. It's when and how severe, and what are you going to do with it? What are you going to do to recognize that it's coming on instead of having to cope with it? Because if you recognize it, and it's like getting back to the mechanics, understanding the mechanics of it. If I had understood the mechanics and was able to kind of compartmentalize what's going on in my head, what are the repercussions, what am I doing to cope that's unhealthy that I can get ahead of, how do I deal with these sleeping issues, I think I could still be in the fight, and none of us want to be out of the fight.
Yeah, that's one of the things that, when you mentioned earlier about not being aware of how, so like when you first start, this is where I'm going with it. So when you first start going to treatment or what have you, you sit down with the counselor or whoever, one of the first things they ask you is like such an easy question you should be able to answer, but you don't, at least for me, I wasn't in a place to even understand that question. Like something like, well, what are you feeling?
Yeah.
What do you mean what I'm feeling? You know what I mean? You always
Yeah.
get like offended. Like, well, but the more and more you start to learn and ask basic questions to yourself, it takes practice. It takes time for you to actually start really, connecting with the questions you're asking yourself, and then start like doing that self inventory. But when you first start, it's not easy. I would get angry a lot of times, just like. Well,
first time I heard
like,
those first three questions, I asked those questions to myself. Like, if I kind of feel overwhelmed, how am I feeling? How am I making others? How am I making others feel around me? Like, do I feel like it's going to get better? Like those three, I ask all the time to myself. I feel kind of a little bit overwhelmed. I'm like, all right, let me slow down. What's going on? Am I affecting other people around me? Like, is other people kind of, excited too around me? All right, how am I move forward now? Okay, and then I just keep on stepping. Find one of my notepads or one of my checklists, and get busy, get active.
but is that something that you kind of always known, or is that something that you?
Nah, not until I heard those questions, and I felt like I was being attacked because they were asking me those questions when I was at the doctor or the
Yeah.
psychiatrist, whatever you want to call it.
Like they asked me like once, like, why are you here? I was like, what the fuck am I here? I don't want to be here. You know what I mean? But I mean, it's a basic question. Like I can actually, like, if I, like, I can, now that I've been able to sort through some of the stuff and kind of, put it where it belongs, if you will, or just be aware of it, I'm able to ask myself that question. Like, if somebody would ask me that question, I'd be able to go down a few different levels and be able to answer it. When then I was just stuck at like the ground level, and not be able to go any deeper. Or I don't even know about the ground level, but maybe a few floors up. I'm not really sure. I just know I wasn't at the place where I can answer that question, a very basic question that most people should be able to answer.
Yeah, well, you think about the mantra of God, country, family. And I think when you're making a living in one of these roles, you prioritize kind of that, whatever your higher faith is, so that you have the bravery to go out and do your job. Country in your case, I say county in mine. So the better, what's your mission to protect, and it's kind of your duty, and families behind that. And emotionally, that was unquestionably where it was I'm turning off all emotions, because that makes it easier for me to go see this gnarly shit and not have an emotional response to it. But that trickled down to my family. I remember my ex-wife calling me one day really shaken up and saying that she'd just seen a 2-vehicle rollover happen right in front of her, and there were pretty severe injuries. And my response to that, I asked if they were okay, and she said, yeah. And I said, yeah, it's crazy. Those accidents just happen all the time. I could not have been more dismissive or care less about it, because to me, that was just another call. I was at work at the time. And it was just another call.
Right.
It was very traumatizing for her.
Very traumatizing for them. And I had no way of conceptualizing that any more than she had any way of conceptualizing my response. And
because y'all were at different baselines.
Totally.
Right.
But when you have that level of divide, they can't look at you with any understanding any more than I could them. We were just operating in two very, very different worlds. I think it takes a really special, unique couple to survive that type of stuff, and an infinite amount of understanding on their part versus ours.
Right. Yeah. Like when a couple years back or what have you, when I went in, yeah, there you go. Yeah, it was very challenging for you. Good?
Oh yeah, man, it's my breakfast.
There you go. It was very challenging, like at first, especially with my wife, and we had to go through our own individual stuff, and then I had to accept the idea that we can become change people on the other side of it. May not want to be with each other, because you grow in different ways, because you learn different things about yourself as you're going through this self journey.
Sure.
And asking these questions and trying to figure out like who you are, what you want, yada yada yada. The rabbit holes are endless. And I had to accept the idea that, like, you know what, when we come out the other side of this, because I was holding on to her, like that was the reason why I was like, shit's fucked
safe
up.
space,
I'm treating her like shit. Yeah, so she's kind of like my last anchor, if you will.
Yeah.
But then I was like, that's not, for some reason, I had the presence of mind to understand like that wasn't fair to her, to put all that pressure on her, you know what I mean? So I kind of gave her an out. I was like, look, I understand we're gonna probably be different people on the other side of it, and we both talked about it, and then after went through these 5 different programs, and then we went to individual counseling, continued after that, and then we went to couples counseling and a number of different counseling, and we ended up working it through. But I can understand and I can see how if I had did or some stuff had happened, or she wasn't the type of person that she is, that it wouldn't have worked out for a lot of people, because it's not easy. Definitely going through that, and constantly the ebb and flows of us dealing with our shit, and then them trying to fix us, and then us getting angry. Anyway, it's just a very convoluted, complex thing to try to throw in a relationship on top of the relationship.
Anybody that makes it through those years, don't get rid of that woman. That's a true ride or die,
Yeah,
because we don't give them any reason to stay.
right.
It's not like you come home from a deployment, or in my case, the end of a shift, and just want to wrap up in their arms and really let go of everything that you're coming home with.
Right.
It's the exact opposite of lashing out and not being able to communicate. It's not a pretty scene, in my opinion, looking back.
No, it isn't. I think one saving grace, I mean, she was like paramilitary, but that only goes so far because she's a type of like not deal with my bullshit kind of thing either. So that I think that helped out a lot of times. She would call me on my shit.
That's good.
And
Yeah.
yeah,
Hold you accountable.
yeah. So definitely, it is definitely challenging. But having said all that, yeah, we come out better on the other side and stuff. And speaking of, I know one of the things we have talked about, I know we talked about like your outlets or what have you, and you said it's a lot of outdoor stuff. But another side of it that we had talked about, actually with Kate, was alternate methods for therapy. And one of the things that we had talked about on that show was psilocybin. We also talked about ayahuasca,
Yeah.
but more so specifically, one of the things I kind of started like to maintain a level of self maintenance. We started doing like acupuncture because I was first introduced on a deployment, and they put the seeds in my ears, like the goat studs,
Yeah.
um, to help out with that. And then fast forward, I started because I was trying to find. I didn't want to be on meds anymore. I didn't want to be on like any of that stuff. So once I kind of got rid of that stuff, then I was like, you know what, I'm gonna really don't want to go down like take Motrin anymore either because I was like, or vitamin M. They always give us Motrin, and for everything. Um, and then once I started understanding what like NSAIDs do to your gut biome and all kinds of other stuff that are associated with just side effects of medications, what have you, I started seeking more natural, no, more natural paths for like aches and pains and jacked up back and wrists and all kinds of other stuff that kind of comes along with service or what have you. I started doing like acupuncture, Chinese medicine,
Yeah.
uh, and then my wife, she's going to school for it right now. She's going in her second year, what have you. And that was after she had two other degree, like went to school for two other things, but then didn't. Um, she just wasn't feeling it anymore. Like working with government. She had a degree in cybersecurity and one in computer information systems, making good money. But just like us, so we kind of like just shifted and like I need to do something more. So that's what she started going to school for. And I feel personally that it helps me like keep down a lot of the aches and pains in a more natural sense as opposed to medication. But then again, I also kind of watch what like how foods affect me and what have you.
Sure.
So is what other alternate things do you do to manage like either aches, pains,
Sure.
sleeping, or what have you?
I've always been very active throughout my life. I was lucky to come from a pretty athletic family. And so using my body a lot resulted in plenty of injuries that I've had to manage over the years. And the best maintenance methods that I've found have been through mobility as opposed to stretching. So focusing on the major joints and trying to keep the muscles between them very evenly stretched, as opposed to, say, letting the hamstring get elongated and the quad to get tighter, which then is going to tilt your pelvis, get your back into a wonky position. And the more I can stay on top of that, the happier I am inside of my body. When it came to the PTSD stuff, one of the biggest things that I realized was the mobility work went out the window, and exercising, like I've always done, became less and less frequent. So a lot of those maintenance techniques that I'd relied on for so long disappeared. And the second I started coming out of the kind of storm, the first thing I went back to was getting back to maintenance of mobility, exercise, and having those releases. And my brain kind of followed. So there's certainly at least in my experience, unquestionable correlation between staying physically active and doing the maintenance stuff on your body to ensure that you're able to do it in the most comfortable way, and my own happiness. So it seems so basic, but getting even down to diet and nutrition. So I generally I do 3 nights of jujitsu and workout 6 days a week, and try to take one legitimate rest day in between. So right now I can pretty much eat what I want. But generally speaking, I like to think about eating like a bear. So a lot of fruits and nuts and vegetables, and then a
rabbit
eater, like a bear.
Maybe a squirrel or two.
As much protein as it possibly can. Yeah.
Maybe a deer.
Yeah.
Nice.
A lot of elk. We eat a lot of elk out here.
Yes.
So, I know you talked about mobility, and the first thing it kind of triggered was CrossFit. Do you do like CrossFit, or do you like just weightlifting, or is it just jujitsu, running?
No, I do mostly heavier powerlifting stuff now.
Okay.
And jujitsu. I have done CrossFit in the past. When I was in Telluride, I really, really liked the CrossFit community there. Great group of people, and you're training at 9,000 feet. So there's that added issue.
I've done that once, played there.
Up in Telluride?
In Colorado, up in Boulder with the altitude was like 10,000. Yeah, it was very different.
It's a game changer, right?
Yeah.
I know I went to Colorado to go actually visit my girlfriend at the time, Sandy, and I got there, and the next day she had to go do PT, and I was like, I'll go for a run, and I was just gonna run a mile, and I got a lap into it, and I was like, granted I was more out of shape then too. I saw pictures of myself. I was like, damn, man, you go chubby there.
Well, so there's the oxygen issue, obviously, but there's also the healing aspect that you're not healing as efficiently at this higher altitude, so it takes a little bit longer. I love doing the CrossFit stuff, mostly because of the community aspect. You got a lot of people there pushing you, and I love that part. But I always felt like I was nursing some injury, so I got out of that and just kind of use the hiking and running and jiu-jitsu for kind of the cardiovascular strength, and then do the heavier lifting for the big muscle strength.
Okay. Yeah, I kind of just took everything I've learned over the past X amount of years of, different things I've tried, whether it be weightlifting or running or CrossFit or anything else. I've been trying to implement like yoga into it, especially because my hamstrings, I don't know, I've always had tight hamstrings, and that's always caused issues. And that's a different thing. Like, it's understanding my body more and how it connects, and how one thing can affect the other. So my hamstrings usually give way to my lower back issues, and then so forth and so on. It's neck and everything else. So I just those things, and it's kind of like the things I talked about as far as like writing or video editing or things like that. Um, I kind of use all those things to kind of help sustain me and just have these little projects always going on. Um, and I don't think it's maybe on some level it's not wanting to go back there and always try to stay ahead of the curve, if you will. Um, Even though I do have my like some bad days sometimes,
Sure.
but they're less frequent now than they used to be. But having said all that, I understand. Like, I know we had talked about a little bit about documentary you're working on. If you want to tell us a little bit about that and how that's coming along and what you see for it going forth in the future.
Yeah. So it kind of stems from a conversation that I had with a buddy of mine that's still active in the military. Um, and when I got the diagnosis, I knew that he had received one fairly close to the same time. And in short, I called him up and just said, "What the fuck? What is it? Like,
Right.
help me understand the mechanics of it." And he didn't really understand it either. Had the same story that I did, which is, they read down a checkbox list, asked me a group of questions that were yes or no answers, and then gave me this diagnosis, told me to take these meds, talk to these docs, and everything would be okay. Well, I don't do well in group therapy. I mean, as callous as this might sound, I do not want to sit in a room of people talking about how unhappy they are or anything. I mean, it's not that I don't give a fuck, but I don't give a fuck. Sorry. Um,
You can only care about so much, man. You can only care about so much.
yeah, eventually it turns into a lot of judgment, and it's, it goes back to that whole compassion thing. Um, it's hard for me to feel a whole lot of compassion for people suffering during the COVID deal because it's the first time they've been exposed to a mass casualty incident.
Right.
Um,
Struggle.
yeah. Uh, so I'm
So when you like so when you talk about a group, what if like it was issues like along like if you were in there with other first responders or other like veterans that kind of had like
it
similar
didn't
experiences?
didn't really matter.
Okay.
It was collective misery is something that I just have a huge wall up against. But that said, even individual therapy wasn't helping me a lot, and I think that there's something to be said that uh, there are parts of this that you're just going to have to suffer through. Um, and you're not, all the answers that you eventually utilize to get over the wall may not be of the same value when you're in the midst of the storm, because I don't know about you guys, but for me it was like standing in the middle of a tornado and all the thoughts and everything are just spinning around me, and I don't have the sense to even be able to pluck a single one out and make sense of a single thing. It was just like everything was spinning, everything was going,
Right.
and the only way that I knew while taking the meds that they were giving me to slow shit down enough that I could be comfortable even existing for an hour long span was wrapped up and enclosed in a bottle of bourbon. Uh, and
No,
And
yeah,
that's
I was doing
Tell me what you remember
okay.
about a tornado. It was big. Nah, but what about everything inside the tornado? You got to remember everything in the tornado, and that ties into the short-term memories. Like we're going through so
100%.
much.
Right.
What you
And the
want me to
frustration, right?
exactly?
And I don't think that's talked about as much, even for a lot of people to be able to acknowledge and understand that it's happening in the moment. Um, that you can't make sense of anything. Like if there's a doctor in front of you, asking you these questions, you can't answer them honestly because you can't pick anything out of that tornado to just even verbalize.
That's what I was talking about earlier. They ask you a basic question like, "Why are you here?" And you just it's just you just threw it into a tornado and it's gonna go spinning around with me with everything else. Just kind of like, fuck, I don't know. You know?
I remember being 8, 9 years old, and my folks split when I was young, and it wasn't a very clean split. And they took me to a therapist. I remember the therapist asking me like, "Well, how do you feel?" And even at 8, 9 years old, kind of having the thought like, "Bitch, I don't fucking know. Like, how am I supposed to tell you that? I'm not here because I'm good at expressing my feelings."
Right. And
it was the
just give me my
same
crayons.
way. Yeah, it was the same way when this was going on. Like, I don't know what the malfunction is, but this is not right. I know I'm not supposed to be feeling this.
Right.
So, and I think, I don't know what your individual experiences were with this. It seemed like when shit started manifesting for me, or rising to the top, slowly started compounding. Like, I started losing my faith in the criminal justice system, and then got an injury that took me off the road and kind of put me in more of an office role for a couple months while I broke a bone and while it was healing. And that gave me my first glimpse into kind of the 9 to 5 routine with a family. And I realized, oh, this is kind of nice. Like, I get to go to sleep and wake up with my then wife and have dinner with my family at night and do all these things. And then, a series of events happened that stuff just started adding up, and then I couldn't sleep at all, and decided, well, I hadn't drank in almost 13 years because I drank too much, and I decided that I'd developed enough discipline and all this other nonsense that I could try drinking again. And that was going smoothly for a couple months. All of a sudden I could sleep. Job was going well. Family was good. Everything seemed good. And then one of my oldest and dearest friends abruptly died, and the wheels came off. And there's a certain level of immortality that you have to believe exists in yourself to go and do that job. And when you have somebody completely unrelated die, that I think, at least in the back of my head, I'd been doing that job. Part of my justification to get up and go do that shit on a daily basis was wrapped up in the people that I loved the most. And he was one of those people. And when he died, having to face my own mortality really, really threw a wrench into the whole system. Then the marriage went, and the house went, and the job went, and it truly took everything being stripped away from me before I had this oh shit moment of, you got to get out of this, however, whatever it takes. I definitely had those dark days where I got a little too intimate with the bourbon, and then the weapon of choice for that day, and sat wrapped up trying to decide if that was going to be it or not. And luckily found the way through. So I don't have any idea how I got started on all that, but that's what came out.
No, man, you're good. I mean, that's kind of
talk about it though.
Yeah, man, that's kind of when you're unpackaging these things, they don't really always come out in the way that you want them to. But they're necessary to come out, because if we are going down this road and trying to use our stories to try to help others, whether first responders or military or veteran, or just general public, whoever's listening to this, I feel that some of these things need to be talked about, and they may not come out in the, the manicured form that, you know, what that's not what life is. Like, it doesn't come out in the way, or it's processed in that way.
You can only
But
write
it's
so much. Sometimes it's going to be verbally. Sometimes it's going to be written down. As long as it comes out and express it. And I feel like that's what this platform, what I'm saying, is instilling. What I'm saying, each episode, and we keep building on that, man. So
right.
that's what it's all about.
We were talking about. I was doing a long form answer of your question for the documentary. So I went to this buddy and just asked him what he thought it was. Again, trying to get back to the mechanics of it all, and that kind of launched me into this idea of if I don't know and he doesn't know, there's other people that don't know, and maybe we should answer some of these questions. What I have, as a result, realized, in my opinion, one of the biggest barriers to dealing with this is getting in front of it. And one of the biggest barriers to us getting in front of it are the stigmas surrounding it, both from the people that are going to encounter it and the people surrounding them. I don't know about you guys, but I spent more the uglier stuff that I would see with anybody, my close family or friends, anybody. And that was more of a learned deal than it was a choice that I made. I would, on the few occasions early on that I would try to share something with them, I'd immediately hear, I don't want to hear about that. And I think that they thought that I was trying to tell them that for some shock factor element. And the reality was I can look back and realize I was testing it to see if I could trust them to express some of this stuff to them. And it was more just sharing it. Like, Jesus Christ, you want to know what happened on my Tuesday? And when they said, I don't want to hear about that, that to me meant, okay, I can't trust them with this.
Right.
So
they're automatically shutting you down. Like, they automatically, no.
Right. You lose those outlets. But because you stop talking to them about this stuff, they make the assumption that none of it happened. So then when you come back and express some level of trauma or, hey, I've been diagnosed with PTSD, they look at it and go, well, you don't have any reason to have PTSD. You've never expressed anything that's happened to you that could have resulted in PTSD to me. So you must just be weak, or you're making up excuses. You don't want to do it anymore. Say all these judgments that then make the person go, well, I didn't want this to begin with. Now I really don't fucking want it because nobody understands it. Nobody can tell me how to fix it. And these drugs aren't making me feel any better. And the group therapy is making me say, what's the fucking outlet?
Right. No, and it's especially if you're talking to those you love and you're trying to share the information with, just as you bring it up, just kind of like, hey, just want to know my Tuesday when they shut it down. And then when I can see how on that level, it's like, well, if I can't even talk to my loved ones about it, then I definitely can't talk to anybody else about it. Nobody else is going to want to hear it. I mean, whether that's true or not, but that's kind of what it gets instilled in you on some level.
People really can't fathom how you want to hear about my day. All right, I work in the office, and the dentist that I work for, he's an asshole, blah blah blah. You got to hear that. But in reverse, how's your day? All right, this was my day. You know what I do. All right, I'm gonna tell you about my day. Oh, nope, stop. I don't want to hear it. But at the same time, you got to hear them. So and then for them to just shut you down, it's kind of hard to live with the person and sleep next to them, and it's you not 100% with them. And then to, like you said, down the road, well, you never said nothing to me about it, because you told me not to. Like, you know.
Yeah, and there's also a certain element of protection that goes along with that, right? Like I didn't want to share some things with you when you know people on the level that you know your siblings and you know your spouse and you know their soft points and you don't want to tell them certain things because you know that it would trigger them, which is going to trigger you and just compound it. So it's like, I just
Right.
keep that shit under wraps.
True.
But I also realized fairly recently that part of the defense mechanism that we develop comes from when you're dealing with grieving family members that have just seen somebody they love die, and you see that grief and sadness day in and day out, you have to develop a certain level of callous because it's not, you don't, at least in my case, I wasn't ever fearful of dying myself. I was what weighed on me the heaviest was the idea of my family having to grieve in that same way. And I couldn't stay connected emotionally to them, knowing that I could cause that pain for them due to the job that I was going to do, which had become as big of an addiction to me as any substance ever had been. It has to be an addiction, right? For you to walk out your door knowing there's a chance I'm going to get shot at today.
Right.
I'm not going to stay in the safety of my own home with my family. I'm going to go take that risk because I really fucking like it.
Right.
You got to admit all of those things in the same breath to be able to break them down and really absorb them all.
Exactly. And help you keep moving forward. You know what I'm saying? To
Sure.
to keep finding yourself and the person that you want to be and become.
Yeah.
I can dig it.
It is a fucked up process, isn't it?
It's
It
not
is.
scripted. It is not scripted, to say the
It's
least.
not scripted, no.
No, it
Not
is
in any
not.
way.
So I know you had talked about you were talking about doing some shooting in the form of where's the first do you have a few like cities or places in mind that you want to go interview first responders or what have you?
Yeah, so the idea is that at least right now, we'll try to package this as a television series, and whether we do that kind of independently through YouTube or some other format, or whether we go to a Netflix or Amazon, we're still trying to decide. But I my idea is to try to do as broad of a picture that we can on all the different, like going and talking to you guys and saying, what was your experience? How did you get through it? And what I've come to realize is the events that ultimately caused you to feel like this mean very little. What you felt as a result and what you did to get through it is what's really intriguing to me. Because the stories all kind of sound the same on some level, right? It was trauma,
Right.
and trauma that we didn't have a chance to process and recover from because we're not. They don't train us to do that shit. They make you really good on the front end and not so good on the back end. So recognizing the after effect, what Was it sleeplessness? Was it the irritability? How did those things affect your life? What compounded it? And then on the back end, what did you do to process all of that? And what techniques have you used to make your life better now? Because hopefully we're talking to a lot more of those guys instead of their friends and family members and asking what do you think they could have done to not be dead now. And going to the institutions, I have a firm opinion, and we talked about this a little bit yesterday. I think culturally there is a shift in progress where the military, law enforcement, and first responder community as a whole are at least open to alternative solutions other than what we've known. And be it that's psilocybin or marijuana or yoga, whatever it might be, they're seeing enough guys and girls going down to this affliction, and that's a big investment for them. They have to spend a lot of money to train us to get us up to speed, right? When they're losing that with regularity, they got to get ahead of it. So I think there's a really opportune time to go around and see all the different methods that are being utilized to pull people out of this. We've been seeing this forever, right? It's had a multitude of different names, maybe look different, but it's the same shit.
Might be going this way, might be going this way.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So those are really positive things and encouraging things that we can look at as a whole and go, people are interested. They're realizing not only is there a need, but there's a legitimacy behind all this stuff. And we need to get ahead of it if we're going to make a difference.
Right, and I agree with you, and I applaud your effort in trying to just bring awareness to your specific world, the experience, because that goes a long way, right?
Yeah. From your scope,
right, when somebody sees one of their own actually, coming out with their story and trying to raise awareness, and that will help others that are in a similar situation, feel it's okay to come out as well and try to either get help, or at the very least, the information will be provided to give them a roadmap out of wherever they're at. And that's kind of one of the things I've come to understand as well, is when I've explained to certain people within my family, like, what am I trying to do? Like, what are you trying to do as far as, I'm like, other than just like, raise awareness for suicide or veteran suicide or just mental health in general. It's really, maybe I just wasn't in the know of people that are on the other side of it, or maybe they just never came out and said anything. But I've always heard the side we don't want to hear about, like, people, killing themselves, or, always like, what could we have done? There's always that question, like, or we could have did more, or I should have saw the signs, or whatever. It was always trying to be reactive as opposed to getting ahead of it, like you talked about. So it was more so like also along the same lines of me trying to provide a roadmap, talk about my experience. And I really didn't know how to do that when I first started. Especially didn't understand like the form of how to do it. It's kind of just like you're talking about. You're not talking about, not really sure if you want to do Netflix, YouTube, or what have you. The thing I did was I just started doing it, and it just kind of just try to get better with each iteration, if you will. Sure. Because this is all a new world to me. We talked about yesterday on the phone, like how I can't stand, like I used to fucking hate social media, like for a lot of reasons, because I just saw the negative sides of it. But when I started learning how to use it as a tool, and even though I still struggle with, Chugg and I have talked about this also, it's just kind of like always putting yourself out there, and then kind of just, it's not, because it's not really about me. It's more so about trying to get the information out and trying to arm people with it, and they can decide whether or not they, want to pull themselves out of it, because that's really where the power lies, is within the person. The person to just go ask for help, or say like, hey, you have trouble sleeping at night, something very basic like that, um, will start to bring those questions within themselves and bring them aware of where they're at in their current mental state. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm picking up what you're putting down.
Okay.
Yeah, I think normalizing, it's like any other issue that we're dealing with. There's a certain shock element that comes in, and certainly with this, a large element or a large level of dismissiveness. People aren't comfortable with it, or they look back and I've had family members say to me, maybe we're just not supposed to be happy. Have you ever thought about that? Or everybody feels anxious.
I heard that before. I'm like, what does that even mean?
Right.
What?
Right.
We're supposed to breathe, so you know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah.
It's like, what does that mean? Like, no,
Well,
I don't accept that.
Hey, can you guys keep talking? I gotta go take a leak.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel both good and bad when I hear that stuff, because the protective side of me goes, if that's what you think, then thank God you've never experienced any level of this. The resentful side of me goes, you can go fuck yourself. Like, you don't have any concept of what I'm talking about.
Not even close. It's like
Right.
you accept, and this is what you accept. You're not even gonna attempt for changes.
Right.
You're just gonna settle. You're just gonna settle to be miserable, unhappy, and not gonna try to find the roadmap, or even ask somebody to get a roadmap to find some type of different happiness. Not even the ultimate happiness, just a different form of miserable.
Well, the angry side of me gets resentful from the feeling of judgment that comes with that, of thinking, how can you possibly assume to know what anxiousness is for me when you've never done anything that the things that have created this for me. So you don't get to judge me. Like, you haven't earned that privilege to be able to judge me. And I'll tell you the most rewarding thing, and I'm guessing you guys have felt this too. When I had that experience with my family, it was wildly demoralizing. And I'm coming out in a time that I've decided to leave the sheriff's office. This is the first time that I haven't had some kind of title in front of my name representing what type of deputy.
Your identity.
Right. The things that I thought represented who I was were suddenly removed, and I'm having the people who I love and care about the most to question the validity of the experience that I'm having. It compounded that who am I feeling, and it wasn't until I got some separation from that and realized, I put in the work to gain those titles. I put in the work to gain those skills. I put in the work at those trainings. No, that shit doesn't leave. I don't lose any of that. I just get to go approach this from a different angle. And the best thing that I can give back to the guys that I care the most about is figuring out a way. I said this to you yesterday, Simon, that, I'm guessing we've all been assigned with details and tasks that we weren't excited about getting. And the only way that I ever really made those tasks mean something to me was telling myself, I'm going to make the other guys better if I learn this thing inside out and can pass it on to them. And I remember having that feeling after getting this diagnosis. Initially, like we talked about earlier, I just rejected it, didn't want it, and did everything I could to distance myself. And then as time went on, I realized there's a big opportunity for me, the other guys, in this by just bringing overall awareness. And like we were talking about earlier, what are the different methods? I think health, but mental health in particular, is not a canvas issue that you can say, all right, if anybody's suffering from this, here's the cure for anybody to get through it. It's a little bit like religion and diet. There's not one individual one that's going to suit everybody's systems. So if we can figure out what works best for those people, that's the way we should move forward. And I think if we can expose more of those alternative treatment methods as opposed to just the SSRI route and therapy, we're going to find a lot more solutions and begin to
more solutions instead of band-aids.
100%, man. Right. And we talked about that yesterday, Simon. The SSRIs, in my opinion, and when Kate was talking in your podcast, she was saying, these are a bridge ultimately. And if you utilize the other tools, excuse me, you can likely find a path to getting better. I think that's great. And if you're going that route and utilizing those methods and stringently following the path that they suggest, maybe it does something. All I found, and this is as transparent as I can be, I was taking Lexapro and Xanax, and the over time, Lexapro never made me feel any different, other than eventually I could bang forever, but I could never get off. And
yeah, that's one of the issues with a lot of antidepressants is that you have that issue. Yeah,
which
I
is
understand.
Like, all right,
that's
so
terrible.
You're telling me,
yeah,
this is supposed to make me happy, but now all I can do is fuck, but I can't get off.
And that's the other side of it too, because it's kind of like,
that's more depressing than nothing.
I know, but I have one doc tell me, well, I mean, at least you're still able to get it up. I was like,
what kind of shit that is?
It's almost like adding insult to injury.
Yeah. Yeah, because if I don't take it, I've managed being kind of pissed off and not super happy and not sleeping and everything else. Right. As long as I can finish.
Right.
That's better than this shit.
Yeah, and so
100%. Oh my goodness. That's
and that is that's a perfect segue into all the SSRI, like when I saw them as a Band-Aid as well. And I remember telling the doctor, I remember telling you, Pete, this yesterday, but I remember reading all the side effects on all the prescriptions that were given to me, I mean, I wasn't reading other people's shit, but just reading mine, and I just remember reading a lot of them. A lot of the side effect was fucking suicide ideation.
Yeah.
I was like, what the fuck? You're gonna give me something?
I'm cool on that. I'm cool.
You know what I mean? But I was in a state where I was like, all right, I guess I'm aware of it now, and I'm just I have to, because I don't have anything else. I was active at the time, and I couldn't be, doing anything else and just compound my problems or what have you. And I really wasn't too aware of the alternative methods because of me being in the military. I did go down some rabbit holes on YouTube, but then I stopped because of the paranoia. Like, hey, what am I watching my browser history? You know what I mean? I don't want to get kicked out before my 20 or what have you. But I did go down that.
How fucked up is? I mean, I've thought about this a lot. So, for the vast majority of my first responder career of those 11, 12 years, I didn't drink. And that was the easiest way for me to fall asleep. When I initially quit drinking before I became a cop, I'd just eat or smoke weed, and that put me to bed. And very organically it felt, and I woke up feeling rested, and I liked my daily routine, and everything felt healthy. Right. Once I became a cop, I can't do that anymore. I can drink all I want when I'm not working, but no smoking weed. So it's like, so I can dance with the devil, but I can't be over here.
Right.
I can't catch the mistress.
Right. And the fucked up thing, I don't know. There's been several cops just during my short tenure in law enforcement who showed up to work and went to an accident and ran into another agency, and the other agency talked to this deputy and realized he's still got booze on his breath from the night before. And the guy ends up getting fired because the only way he knows how to go to sleep is to have X amounts of drinks, which we all know add up more and more and more and more the longer you do it. And he's carrying that over until the next day. You can smoke and eat all the weed you want. When you get off your shift, you're going to wake up and that shit is not going to be in your system affecting the way that you perform your job. Alcohol will.
Right. There's no way around it. No way around it.
No.
And that's the thing too, is like,
what you drink, nothing. It's going to be affecting your mobility, judgment, possibly, all that shit.
I'm not saying we should have. Can you imagine a real stoner cop and somebody takes off at him and he's just like,
that sounds like a good sitcom.
Bro, slow down.
Stop, man.
Yeah.
Stop.
Don't make me, bro. I would not want to see marijuana see stoner cops.
Ain't here. Like if you get pulled over, they got that here. You get pulled over, you get the, what is it? Under the influence. It's not a DUI. It's like a high UI or something like that.
It's a DUI here. You have to have, I think it's 15 nanograms of active THC in your system. It's not easy enough to roadside test. They're going to have to figure out a different system for testing if they actually want to enforce it, because, DUI with alcohol is, there's the odor, you're getting the eyes and the speech, and, their cognitive system is clearly impaired. With weed, it's kind of like, what are you worried about? They're driving 15 under the speed limit, and they got both hands on the steering wheel because they feel like it's sideways.
Yeah, using their blinker too early.
I've never been to a violent domestic violence situation that involved weed. I have with alcohol almost every time. I've never been to a multiple fatality traffic accident that was all weed. I have with alcohol multiple times. So I'm not here trying to condemn alcohol.
It's a place and time for it in moderation.
Yeah. And some people are never affected by alcohol, which is kind of like nicotine to me. I don't understand how anybody can casually enjoy nicotine. It just doesn't make sense to the chemistry of my brain. It's the same with alcohol. Like, I'm not somebody who can go out and have 2-3 drinks with dinner and then go home and go to sleep. I'm either getting after it or I'm not doing it at all. But weed, for me, if I eat a little bit, it just makes me tired and I go to sleep.
Right.
It's pretty fucking awesome.
Gets me locked in.
And it's got a lot of benefits to it, as far as like helping with inflammation, like the CBD aspect, helping with inflammation, like not pain tolerance, but like pain inhibitors, like within the THC or what have you. There's all these like side benefits that are like so beneficial. And going back to your point, as far as like agencies recognizing the alternative methods to treat this is if we are really truly serious as a society and not just making like a hashtag or at or whatever, like we're really truly serious about it, then we need to consider like all these other alternatives because the science is promising, and when you have the level of side effects being very low, if any, with some of these, it seems like a no-brainer. However, I do understand that that's not how the world works, and when you throw money into it, people's pockets are used to getting lined with pharmaceuticals. They're going to get lighter, and they're not going to want that. So there's going to be a push, and of misinformation is going to be being pushed out to fight against this, which is unfortunate because the only person that suffers is the families and the person dealing with it.
I honestly don't. I appreciate what you're saying, and mind you, I say all of this living in a community that is, for the most part, pretty open-minded, and have for long enough. I don't remember not doing it as like, but I just feel like culturally we've reached a point that whether people will openly admit it or not, they recognize that it's not just anybody that's going to be willing or able to go fulfill these jobs, and there is a necessity for them, both at home and abroad. So they need those seats filled, and they don't want to do it. They're thankful that there's somebody that does want to do it, and they recognize that those people are going to come home with baggage. Like we've gotten to that point, I think, as a society. Nobody seems to know definitively what to do to treat that, but I think we're at least getting to a place where there's enough desperation and they're seeing enough people taking their own lives or ruining their own lives to one extent or another, that they realize there's a level of desperation here that can't be denied, and we need to take whatever steps are available and necessary. And thank God we have people like Kate and so many others that are kind of leading this this front to normalize alternative treatment methods, because they're seeing how effective it is. And it makes total sense, right? If you think about, we all love the Bruce Lee quote of be water. That's what this method is. It's a lot more organic, and you're not resisting anything. You're just allowing it to kind of wash over you. And it's a reconnection. I think a huge part of dealing with this affliction is losing a connection to your soul, or whatever spiritual connection you might have. I mean, I didn't feel like I had any connection to anything outside of this very, I put my gun on, I go to work, I grunt through everything, I take care of whatever I have to take care of. I come home, I wash and repeat and go back out. I had no connection to anything emotional whatsoever.
Right.
And that's a
part of a machine. Part of a machine.
And there's a whole lot of ego that goes into that, right?
Yep.
So I think most of our, call it spiritual connection, ends up wrapped up in that emotion of, these are my thoughts on, here's what keeps me safe, here's what keeps me going home. Whatever those elements are, that's what you feel connected to. When you do one of these processes that Kate's talking about, or these alternative methods, there's a reconnection to the soul. I mean, that's what you're going to get with the psilocybin experience if it's done properly, and the ayahuasca.
Have you personally done one of these sessions?
No, I've not done the session. I've definitely taken. I mean, I live in Colorado. I've taken some mushrooms in my day,
I haven't yet. Psilocybin, anyways.
That's the connection that's the best way that I would describe it. You kind of launch off into space for a little bit.
Yeah, like transcend into a different reality that we don't yet understand. And I hear it's from my own personal experiences with other hallucinogen. I do understand it to a base, like a certain level of like kind of coming to this profound experience and of being one. And you kind of hear that often with everything, but then coming out of it and then trying to relay that story to somebody else, and like when you try to say it, it's gone because it's so profound and so unique to you.
It's like unquestionably similar to a dream, and sometimes we retain those dreams, sometimes they're just lost to us, right? But there's if you have a beneficial, good experience with it, and that's spoken about a lot, about how you kind of carry in your experience is going to reflect kind of your emotional state of being prior to ingesting whatever you're taking. So make sure you're in a good place.
Right. It's the three things I always hear is time, place, and setting. Time, place, and setting. Like, and then you have to do it with a certain reverence. If you do it to get like fucked up or whatever, just to get high, like it usually doesn't result in this. Based off of what I've read and like other people's experiences, like especially like what ayahuasca, I saw a documentary, if you will, but it was like a personal journey of somebody going to one of these places, and they kind of walk you through the experience or what have you. First day, he took after he did his cleansing part, he did saw a shaman. They gave him X amount of dosage, and he had a like blissful experience, and he talked about it. The next day, he insisted on having more ayahuasca than they were recommending, and he said that was like a fucking nightmare. That like it's almost like it like taught him a lesson, you know what I mean? Like it humbled him on a spiritual level. It's like, no, because you wanted to like fuck around or whatever and not take it serious, and you can kind of have this, and that's kind of what like the basic thing. It's not. You're not shown what you want to see. You're shown what you need to see, for you to kind of calibrate your direction, if you will, of like how we exist in this world. And so, like I don't have any personal experience with it, so I can only go based off of what others. But that is one of the biggest things I hear is time, place, and setting.
Unquestionably, and you I think the more personal recognition you can have, and mind you, this is anecdotal at best, because you got to call Kate to get a more clinical explanation of this. But the more comfortable you can be with the idea that this can go one of two ways. One is a really good spiritual connection, and the other is a very tumultuous, scary experience. Because I mean, I don't care how pure your mind soul connection might be, there's some shit in there too, and that shit but it's also about perspective, right? I mean, what's scary to me might not be scary to either one of you, and how you interpret and digest that fear. You can be in the midst of the worst drug experience you've had, and if you're able to summon that voice in your head to go, I'm not going to die. I can't overdose on mushrooms, so let's have fun with this shit. Even if it appears scary, like, let's laugh at it and move on, and maybe we'll find a diamond in the rough.
So that's another part of it too, is your ego has a lot to do with it.
So much to do, but that's where you end up checking that ego shit, through good or bad.
You're forced to let go, because you hit a certain point where you're like trying to hold on to our reality of however we deem that to be, and just let go and go into this other realm or dimension or what have you in your mind. And until you let go and then you can kind of get the experience that. But the longer you hold on mentally to this existence, but understand that you're going to come out of it as well. I think that's huge. But like as you let go, you are able to. It's not as tumultuous. Does that make sense? Am I making sense with what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think. I mean, at least in my experience, so ego kind of tells us, okay, I'm willing to be a spoke in the wheel, understanding that I'm not supporting the entire wheel all on my own, but it's the group of us. But if I was removed, I'm probably the most important spoke of all the spokes. So the rest of the spokes would probably fall. And when you get one of these ego checks, you realize not only am I not the most important spoke and all the spokes are necessary, but I'm no different from any of the other spokes. And that can be terrifying to some people. Like, that's the fucking reality. Some people don't want to be told that they're just as
spoke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They want to be the glowing light that is the beacon for the entire universe, right? They don't want to recognize, wait, I'm inconsequential. My experience and what that experience means to me is profound. But as far as what it means to the rest of the world, very insignificant. That's a hard thing to digest for a lot of people. And I think that's where a lot of the fear comes from. And even saying that, I can think of moments in my experiences where that's been a really overwhelming feeling. Like, how insignificant am I? But you also have the avenues through those experiences to become very just okay with that sentiment. And when you do that and you realize, wait, I mean, as hippie as it sounds, as woo-woo, if you're walking around in the woods out here or any place else, and you realize how much of a part of the process you are, you feel this hunting a lot, where you have to be on some level of synchronicity with the animals to get that close to them to be able to kill them. You have to recognize the natural order and the cycles and where the wind's blowing and where the sun is and my backlit and my front, where they're going to smell me. You become a part of this cycle, and that's the most beautiful part of hunting. It's kind of like we were talking about earlier, standing in the river and just feeling that rhythm of
looks so cool. I feel like I could get it, man. I feel like I could get that movement. I feel like I could get that.
I usually get it until I do one of these moves and my hook gets caught in some brush off the side of the river.
Like Bill dancing?
Yeah.
It's a learning process. It looks like it's a learning process.
There's a big learning process, but it's nice either way.
So what's on the docket today? What's on the docket for today? What you guys got up for today?
We'll do some writing and head to the gym, and then BBQ tonight.
Nice.
What you guys got?
Friday night BBQ.
Yeah.
I forgot today was Friday. I heard when we were doing the podcast, I heard the trash man going. I was like, fuck, I forgot to grab the trash.
Friday 13th.
13th.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
I guess I'm watching some Crystal Lake. What was that? Jason?
Yeah. I guess I wear condoms tonight.
Yeah.
So, like, I'll probably for a ride or work out here in a little bit. I'm working on that film, like the program I was talking about, the Dirt Therapy Project. They're doing a film festival, and I just decided to do it just to challenge myself. So I'm doing like this all this week. We were like out shooting on the local trails and trying to throw something together, like a storyline. I've never done anything like this, so I'm pretty excited about it. It's 6 minutes long. That's the criteria. And then I also brought my family, which are also veterans, to help me um, like video and take shots of like different places and stuff like that. So I'm I don't know. It's exciting for me. It's a little project, and
I'm excited to see it. I'm excited to see it personally.
yeah,
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, and if you kind of mentioned that you'd taken a liking to the editing process yesterday, if that's something that you find that you have kind of a niche for, run with that, because it's a fairly unique ability and trade to really hone, and you can't find a lot of them out there. It's something that is completely and totally lost on me. I do not understand how anybody can sit in a room and edit stuff. So I'm wildly appreciative that you guys exist, because I couldn't do it if it was left up to me.
It's great quality too, man. That's what I keep telling them, man.
I don't know. I've always enjoyed like creating things. You know, when I was talking about like drawing and like music or what have you, and it was just like another way for me to, I don't know, focus my attention on something and just kind of create something based off of, I would imagine like the Rolodex of information of movies I've seen over my life or what have you, and just kind of just trying to think, which is strange because going back to like being irritable and what have you, the very cousins, like the very family that's helping me, they want to go visit me in Boston 3-4 years ago. I took them downtown, and I'll just say this, and then we could probably start wrapping it up. But they I was getting so fucking frustrated with them, and I love them to death, but like they would just want to stop and take pictures, and I didn't understand it, but it was because I didn't deal with my shit, you know. I would like, and especially like my heightened awareness or hypervigilance would increase when I had people I cared about. Like I felt like I needed to keep them moving, you know, and like keep them not stagnant in one place. And I would stress out whenever we would stay in one spot too long. And so it's kind of funny to see like the other side of it, and they're kind of helping me now, and they're probably like, what the fuck, what happened to this guy, you know what I mean? But I think it's good on some level, you know. They're enjoying it, and I'm enjoying it. So we'll see where it goes, you know. Just kind of like Chugg always says, we're just throwing stuff at the wall to see what sticks. And that's kind of what this podcast is. I mean, if you see our first episode, it was kind of like, you know, I don't know, it wasn't as good as the second one, and you know, and so forth and so on. And I always really just try to learn and try to learn from other people's experiences and stories, and kind of put those out to the populace. And if people watch it, they watch it. If they don't, they don't. You know what I mean? We can only put that information out there as we that interests us, and hopefully it comes off as natural, like we're interested and curious, because I am, especially when it comes to this subject, which is
and I'm
seems to be
always
personal.
taking notes, baby. I got a whole page of notes. I'm always taking notes. Yeah.
But no, you guys are doing great things. I'm very appreciative that of everybody I'm finding in this community, and that's been kind of the just most uplifting aspect of this little personal journey for me, is seeing it felt very bleak, and that there weren't a lot of resources that are suddenly coming out. I think if nothing else comes of this, just creating a general awareness of what outlets people do have to explore a multitude of options, as opposed to just the
you were supposed to be unhappy. This is the way I was supposed to. This was born.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I do feel that, like on some level, it's kind of like I kind of didn't wish that. I wish I didn't go through that, but at the same time, I'm equally grateful because of the place I am now and the understanding I have of myself, and especially like to meet people like yourself that are trying to do good things and trying to use their personal experience to try to help others, and serve like the people that we care about, the people we served with, or the people like that are in our families. So I commend you for doing that as well. I look forward to having you back on the show and try to give us an
keep
update.
You guys up to date for sure.
Yeah, on how the series is going, or if you moved any further with that, and if we can help.
There should be I think, like 5 to 6 minute trailer that we just shot that should be ready in the next few weeks. So as soon as that's up, I'll get it over to you guys. And what was the mountain bike organization that you were talking about yesterday?
The Dirt Therapy Project.
Dirt Therapy Project.
Yeah, they're on Instagram it's at Dirt Therapy Project on Instagram. They also have a page on Facebook, which is the Dirt Therapy Project, and then you can go to tdtp.org, and you can get more information on the founder, Jonathan Hagerman, as well as some tidbits about testimonials and stories or what have you.
I think that what stood out to me about that idea was just kind of similar to the platform that you guys have here, which is just getting people together and talking about this stuff, and creating that outlet for other people to, again, going back to normalizing it as opposed to it being this disorder or affliction, whatever it might be, and allowing people to have those methods of understanding themselves and what they have to explore to get through it.
And you're right, like it is something that's not well talked about, but with efforts like you're starting to embark on, Kate, myself, Chugg, Jonathan, and a number of other people that are not just in the first responder veteran community, but that are out. My hope is to build like a network, like you're part of the network now, you know what I mean? And people that we know, and we can share that information, whether through social media or through podcasts or what have you, in any way we can to kind of get the word out, and just try to use our platforms to help others, save one life if we can, or just save a person's mental well-being on some level.
Yeah, totally.
But
absolutely.
Yeah, but we'll look forward to talking to you, and if you we can talk and stay in contact. You have my phone number. You also have contact information. We could talk further down the road about having you back on once you get more details. When you get that trailer, definitely send it to us. We can share it on our social media platforms.
I sure will.
Also, I may be going to Denver in the next month or so I'll probably do a little tour or something. Or not Denver, but Colorado.
Yeah,
it'd be cool to meet up with you and hang out or whatever. Have lunch or do whatever. But Chugg, be safe out there.
Yeah, Beatrice is oil changed, and we're heading west. I left my guitar in California.
Uh oh. You gotta come right past me then.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna go 70. I don't know if I'm gonna go 40. I don't know yet.
Right.
Yeah, but I can stay posted.
Yeah.
All right, guys.
Yeah,
thanks again for joining us, and that's episode 21, I believe. And yeah, be safe out there.
Hey, fellas, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah, anytime, and would like I said, I look forward to having you on again and discussing further, just see where you're at with your efforts and what have you. But thanks again for giving us the opportunity, and yeah, let's keep it moving.
Yes, sir.
I appreciate it, fellas. We'll talk soon.
All right.